Oh, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, or good afternoon. Depends on where you are, I guess. Welcome to That Park Place Midweek Matchup with Marvin Vash. I am Marvin Movie Monster Monster, now the editor-in-chief of a little website called That Park Place. And, of course, joining me from the Vash Sky Parkcast is the one and only Mr. Vash Sky.
Thanks so much for having me, Marvin. This is a very interesting day of news. It is D23 week, as everybody knows, and we are all gearing up here at That Park Place, the Vash Guy Parkcast, and all of your sort of channels right there to prepare for what is said to be maybe, illustrious ceremonies, or maybe tempered down expectations. I don't know, Marvin. The messaging is mixed here.
Yeah, it has been a pretty crazy couple of days here. But for me on my channel also, Vash, I just passed 9,000 subscribers yesterday.
I saw that.
And just
9,000.
Over 9,000. And then just got the notification that the M4 Empire has had 1 million views. So
fantastic. Congratulations, Marvin.
Thank you. Yeah, that is the big accomplishment for us. But last week, Vash, do you remember we talked a bit about the Lakeshore Lodge last week and just like the horror that it was? Remember we read all of those like various what do you call it? The tweets about it.
Yes, absolutely.
How like angry people were.
And a lot of people actually commented on that the video that was actually produced from that segment right there. A lot of enthusiasm regarding Fort Wilderness and its fate, its future, and especially Lakeshore Lodge itself.
Yeah, so I decided that we had gone through the tweets and we were like, let's keep going until we find a positive one, and then we never found a positive one.
Yeah.
So I decided to make something out of them. And it has been like, I don't know, I hope you haven't seen it yet, but I have been dying to show it to you, but I was like, I gotta show it to Vash on the air. So Pro played it on his show. But let's take a look at what people think about the Lakeshore Lodge.
Nice symbolism between old and current Disney. Thoughtful, imaginative, adventurous, unique versus soulless. Cheap, corporate, common trash. I'm shocked at how these things get approved. Then I see who's working there and it makes sense. God almighty, that's awful. I'll be at the fort in November, and in no way am I looking forward to this monstrosity looming over Pioneer Hall. I don't want to be that person that piles on, but this looks like the new university. Science, research, building. This can't be real. I refuse to believe it. Disney, we think you forgot a good coat of paint and a bit of theming. It's certainty a choice. Nothing screams wilderness like a badly designed, uglier version of a Hampton Inn. Why does it look like a prison watchtower? This is disgusting, and I am distraught. They blocked equality in right into the most secluded part of the Disney resort. What in the Hilton is this? Good God! Coming to Disney Data Center Resort. True by Disney. It is so awful that I can't even bear to look at it. I've seen nicer hospitals. Disgusting.
So there you go, Vash.
Fantastic. That is amazing.
Little ditty that I put together literally right after we got off the air on Wednesday. So I've been sitting on that for a week to show you. But
most ironically about that, Marvin, is that song actually has more human soul in it than Disney's Lakeshore Lodge.
It does, right? A little bit more warmth.
Indeed. Oh, man.
Oh, my goodness. All right. So we have a lot to talk about today. Let's get to our super chats first. See what the people are saying before we dive into the news for this week. Juliet, for £5 saying, evening, That Park Place and chat. Good evening to you, Juliet. Good to see you, my friend. You and Kumia, member for 3 months, says hit like and subscribe. It's phenomenal advice that everyone should take. Sean, formerly John, member for 15 months, says, I heart Marvin. He is the best. Make me a mod more. No, never. In fact, if anyone ever sees me make Sean a mod, that is going to be one of those things where it's like I am in danger, so I'm doing something that I would never actually do in real life. So if I ever did make him a mod, call the authorities because I'm being murdered.
Or hacked.
Yes. Ken Reinhardt says, sometimes you sit and wonder how will Bob Iger screw up the Lakers. That's a wonderful way to get into our first story, Vash. Let's get into it because we are kicking it off in style this week. Holy crap. Breaking news, folks. Bob Iger buys popular thing for way more than it's worth. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Bob Iger and Joshua Kushner have bought the Los Angeles Lakers at a record $12.5 billion. Let's talk about it today on That Park Place. Vash, this is one of those stories where I'm just like, what is happening right now? What is going on?
Well, I will say, Marvin, Bob Iger has been courting the basketball. Sorry, he's been courting the NBA for quite a while.
Courting.
I had to do it today, but no, I mean, back in the day, actually, when he was retired the first go round, the word on the street was that he was actually going to acquire the Phoenix Suns, which was very, very interesting. Unfortunately, that didn't go through for Mr. Bob Iger right there, and obviously the price went up on some of these teams and franchises, which is why he may have found a partner in very interesting bedfellows.
So Bob Iger, let's take a look at what he did here. Former Disney CEO Bob Iger is getting into the professional basketball business in a massive way. Iger and Thrive Capital founder Joshua Kushner, brother of President Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, have reached an agreement to purchase a majority interest in the Los Angeles Lakers from Mark Walter in a deal that values the legendary NBA franchise at a staggering $12.5 billion. I can't believe Bob Iger had that much, like even like a percentage of that much money sitting around. CNBC reported Wednesday that Walter had sold his majority equity in the Lakers to Iger and Kushner, citing a statement announcing the transaction. A person familiar with the terms told the outlet that the deal values the Lakers at $12.5 billion. The Associated Press separately reported the $12.5 billion figure, which would establish yet another record for the sale of a professional sports franchise. It is a remarkable turn of events, not only because of the enormous price tag, but because Walter only became the Lakers' controlling owner, Vash, last year when he bought the franchise for $10 billion just a year ago. The NBA governors unanimously approved Walter's acquisition on October 30th of 2025, with the league announcing that the Buss family would retain an ongoing ownership interest in the franchise. Now, Jeannie Buss, who the people who used to own it, was also set to remain the Lakers governor for at least 5 years following the transaction. That means that Walter is turning around and selling his majority equity less than a year after the NBA approved his takeover. This is like turning over a boat. Like he flipped it. He flipped it. He was just like, wow, I can get this status obsessed moron who drove the Disney company into the ground to give me way more money than I paid for this. And for Bob Iger, there would have been no price too high to pay for the Lakers, because not only are the Lakers a professional sports team, but they are a status symbol in Los Angeles.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Yes.
Lakers games are something that every celebrity goes to. They all have their courtside seats. Remember, like the famous shots of Jack Nicholson always sitting courtside back when, he could stand upright and do things. But yeah, Bob, this has got to be the ultimate Hollywood status symbol for Bob, and this is exactly what he wants.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, celebrities from all up and down Southern California actually come out to attend Lakers games, especially when they are doing well in the various seasons right there, especially, finals and all of that. It's a big deal, but what better status symbol than, instead of getting courtside seats, owning the actual team.
Oh,
very interesting right there.
Now Taylor Swift and all of those people, like, they're all guests of Bob Iger now. They're in Bob Iger's house when they step into that. So with the sale of the team, does that include the arena? Does the owner of the team own the arena?
I'll have to look into
You know,
that.
sometimes
Usually,
they do. I know, like, the Cons I know own the Jacksonville Jaguars, the football team, and they own the arena there as well. So I'm not exactly certain.
depends on the league, depends on the venue, depends on all of, there's a bunch of things. In this case, I don't think so, because I don't think you can actually purchase a team and the actual land and the actual arena itself for that much. Might be actually considerably more, just given the circumstances. Go ahead.
Now, I don't know where the Lakers like corporate offices are. I'm sure that Bob's going to have a very nice office. Word has it, Vash, that they are currently installing the shower in the office as we speak.
Absolutely. That is, I believe that was maybe terms of the deal right here. It's actually negotiated about Bob Iger must have a shower.
Some people, when they retire, maybe they they get into a hobby. They buy a drone. Maybe they get a metal detector and walk the beach. Bob Iger buys the Lakers. I cannot believe he had that much money laying around. I mean, obviously, I know that like he's not putting up the whole 12 billion, but he's got to be putting up at least a few billion if he's working with Kushner.
Yes.
So the Lakers were valued at approximately 10 billion when Walter acquired control. The new transaction reportedly values the franchise at 12.5, an increase of 2.5 billion or 25% in less than a year. There's no way this team went up 25% in value in a year.
Yeah, I don't really think so right there. What did go, I guess, up in value, at least when looking at this transaction as well, from the buyer's perspective, right? They got a fusion of cash, obviously, with partnering with some folks. And now, as we know, Marvin, Bob Iger is fantastic at spending other people's money, which is why it was like no price too large right there. By the way, I did look into it, and Schutz Entertainment Group is actually the owners of the Staples Center, with the Lakers actually being a tenant within that building. Makes sense, but it's still way too high for. Go ahead, please.
You're trying to think of how the valuation could have gone up so much. I'm looking at it. The Lakers have not won the league since 2020. Was the last time they won the championship. So it's been 6 years since they've won. And in 2024 to 2025 season, they went 50-32, finishing third in the Western Conference. While it's not a terrible season, that's also not like that's also not the 25% higher valuation. If they had just won the league, that would be one thing. Like if they were a championship team, like fresh off of their win with like an unstoppable roster, then I could see being like, yeah, I could flip this team for far more than it's worth. But I think this is another example of Bob Iger paying more for something than it's worth. We saw that with Fox, where he was willing to, he would pay any amount of somebody else's money to make sure that he got Fox.
Right.
And we saw how that went. I mean, he spent well above market value for Fox, and now apparently doing so again.
Of course, and then you have to realize, if you're paying above market rate for this team, can you actually make it worth your while? Now, it might just be as simple as, they approached the previous owner who had just, finalized their deal back in October of 2025, and it might have been just, hey, you got to make it worth my while. You have to make it worth it for me to actually let this go, and maybe that $2 billion increase in valuation right there was the thing that actually got this deal going right there. It's very interesting, Marvin, when looking at the history of Bob Iger wanting a professional team, because I believe his wife is coach or something for some female soccer volleyball team. I'm not quite sure with that. I haven't gone extensively into Willow Bay's history in quite some time. But what's very, very interesting, Marvin, is that I've had a theory for a long time about a particular element of Walt Disney World. I believe you remember maybe perhaps the NBA experience. Well, what is interesting about that is that 7 years ago this day, August 12th, 2019, is when the NBA experience officially opened. And who was in attendance right there? Bob Iger and Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA. And I was always looking at that and going, Bob Iger does not come out for anything.
Yeah, no, he does not. He's not coming out for the opening of a location in Disney Springs. It's not like he wasn't there when Six Ravens opened their doors a couple weeks ago. Like,
right, and I mean, it would be. Preposterous to believe that the CEO of the Walt Disney Company would actually come out for the opening of anything on Disney Springs. And we've historically quite never seen him at any of these openings for any of these big attractions and so forth, ever.
Right.
Well, outside of one time, noteworthy, when the Adventures Continue, Star Tours The Adventures Continue actually opened, he was there with George Lucas, and we do know from his book and other resources that is what started negotiation to actually acquire Star Wars. So if it's in Iger's best interests, he will be there. And so it was like, why is he there with Adam Silver? And then the news, after he actually retired from the Walt Disney Company, suggests that he wanted the Phoenix Suns for himself. That deal fell through, and then we hear most recently that he's getting in bed with some other players to acquire a team, maybe set up a franchise in Vegas, which is very, very interesting. Now, this is the culmination of all of that effort right there. So 7 years to the day, NBA experience. Bob Iger finally got his team.
So Iger and Kushner said in a joint statement, as lifelong NBA fans, we are deeply honored for the opportunity to become stewards of the Los Angeles Lakers, one of the most iconic sports franchises in the world. We have immense respect for the leadership and vision of Jerry and Jeannie Buss. Our long-term commitment is to build on that foundation, compete at the highest level, and serve this extraordinary team, its fans, and the city of Los Angeles. Said it like Stone Cold Steve Austin there. But so Iger is now 75 years old, attaching himself to another of the most recognizable entertainment brands in the world. He is not new to professional sports ownership. He previously invested in Angel City Football Club, one of the national women's soccer leagues. This is a bit bigger than that, though, I would say. But his partnership with Kushner doesn't begin with the Lakers, Vash. He joined Thrive Capital, the venture capital firm founded by Kushner earlier this year. The pair had also been involved in efforts to secure potential NBA expansion, as you said, in Las Vegas. Rather than waiting for the NBA to determine whether and when it would expand, Iger and Kushner have now landed something significantly bigger, which is control of the Lakers. And as I said, this is a status symbol if there ever was one. I mean, this is massive for Bob. So there you have it, guys. Bob Iger, now owner of the Lakers. Now, I know Ken Reinhardt said in the chat here that wins and losses have nothing to do with team valuation. I have no idea what goes into team valuation. I am not a basketball guy or a sports guy, in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, Bob Iger owning the Lakers, guys. What do you think about it? Is this going to be a major win for Bob Iger, or is this going to be just another franchise that Bob Iger drives into the ground?
Go fund yourself, Bob.
This just in, Vash. Bob Iger has now made it so that the Lakers starting lineup is going to be mostly women of color.
Well, there you go. I mean, hey, it would be very inclusive. It would be very inclusive for the NBA to do what roughly the WNBA is doing, and that is letting people from all genders participate in their sports leagues. So very forward thinking from Iger right there. I will say, Marvin, very interested, very curious whether or not Bob Iger maybe perhaps utilized company resources in order to enrich himself when it came to the NBA experience and all of that. Now, I'm not saying that accusation. I'm not saying that he actually did that. I'm just saying, I think it would be worth some investigation at some point to see why, in fact, all those things transpired the way they did in August of 2018.
Kind of makes a fellow wonder, don't it? Just a Dutchie member for 12 months, 1 year of Just a Dutchie membership. It's a membership anniversary. Like, share, and subscribe. And for those who receive them, enjoy the gifty. And then she gifted 5 at Park Place memberships. Thank you, Just a Dutchie.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Just Dutchie. Thank you.
She is wonderful. James All Day TV for 5. Iger is going from destroying Disney to destroying sports teams. Yes, he is. We'll see. We'll see how he does. Sean, formerly known as John, says Bob Chapek leads new ownership of the Sacramento Kings. Is that true, or is that like a joke?
With our audience, you can never tell. Let me just see here if there's any connection right there.
Yeah, I don't think so. Maybe.
I don't think so. But that's funny.
Yeah, no, that's a joke. Apparently,
Wouldn't be surprised. Honestly, that's why I look
Juliet
it up.
for Juliet for £199, sending a super sticker. Thank you very much, Juliet, for the super sticker. And Snarky to Stinky Fudge Dora for $5 says, "This is wonderful. I hate the Lakers. Bob is welcome to make a stinker of it. God, go dang it, Bob." Where is the dang it, Bob? We had that somewhere, didn't we?
Yeah, we need to think about
We have Go Fund You.
Go fund yourself, Bob.
Do we have dang it, Bob? We're not great, Bob. I don't think we have either of those actually anymore. We have this one.
It was measuring attendance at Disney World on July 4th, which didn't really factor in temperature, which is about 100 degrees and 99% humidity on that day.
Bob, what are you thinking?
That, of course, was Tyler D. McDowell, my new Friday co-host for that Park Place Live.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I will not be here this week, though, because I am getting on a big old boat and going on a cruise this weekend.
Ooh, congratulations.
Actually taking a vacation, which is like the hardest thing for me in the world to do, because, you know, I am very much a workaholic. But yeah, I'm actually going to be cruising the Bahamas, not a Disney cruise, though, this time.
I do wonder what that discussion was like with the boss there, Marvin, when it was like, hey, it's D23 weekend. You going on a cruise?
Yeah, I mean, I told them that I was going, you know, months and months and months ago, and then we realized that not only was it D23 weekend, but it was the opening of Dollywood's Coast new attraction, and we could have gone and we could have actually met Dolly and stuff like that. But you know, I chose the worst weekend in the world to go on vacation. I know, but I've got a hell of a team that is here, you know, holding down the fort. But I'm also going to be doing a travel vlog about it, and I'll put that up for members of my channel. So that's
awesome. Can't wait.
All right, Vash. We've got another story to get to here. And let's get to it. Oh, hold on, wrong tab, and we'll get to it right now.
There we go. One more for the top. Triple decker, just how you like it.
Wow, thanks, Mr. Walt.
You enjoy it.
We will.
The Walt Disney Company has a new executive in charge of their consumer products as division moves under the studios banner. They have named Joss Hastings as consumer products marketing chief. Let's have a look at what that means today on That Park Place. So this is Joss Hastings. She is the new head of the SVP of consumer products marketing. Disney has tapped 20-year company veteran Joss Hastings as Senior Vice President of Marketing, Disney Consumer Products, reporting jointly to the media giant's Chief Marketing Officer, Asad Ayaz, and Disney Consumer Products President, Lisa Baldzicki. The appointment follows the recent announcement that consumer products will shift from Disney Experiences into Disney Entertainment and Studios. Hastings, who has worked across consumer products, digital, music, parks, and gaming, will lead marketing for the DCP business globally across teams to grow the business, strengthen Disney's brands, and connect consumers, working closely with TWDC franchise, studio, and business partners. Now, Vash, the longtime Mouse executive, was previously the VP of Marketing Strategy and is replacing SVP of Global Marketing for Disney Consumer Products, Ron Ferris, but with a new remit given the shift. Recently, she led Disney's Global Formula One partnership and delivered activations that expanded Mickey and Friends' reach and relevance, including an event at the Las Vegas Grand Prix, a sold-out Gentle Monster collaboration at the Shanghai Grand Prix, and the expansion of the partnership into F1 Academy to capitalize on the growing momentum behind women's sports. So, Vash, the big question that we have to ask right away is, who is this woman in Dana Walden's Disney? Because it's now under Studios, which does also fall under Dana Walden's purview. Who is this woman that they have now trusted with their consumer marketing products? Well, one thing about her is she is a trustee at Buckley. So if we go down here, you can see Joss Hastings Price, trustee. Leads campaign strategy and execution for Disney's global consumer products business, responsible for creating integrated marketing campaigns to drive retail sales, builds brands, and optimizes commercial impact for the Walt Disney Company's portfolio of franchises around the world. Since joining Disney in 2007, held a number of senior positions across the company, initially responsible for leading communications for the company's TV business in EMEA, went on to head communications for the Walt Disney Company in the UK before moving to the US in 2014 as Vice President of Franchise and Retail Communications. Pretty straightforward stuff. What else is
Yes.
going on over at Buckley, though?
Mm.
Let's have a look at Buckley's diversity, equity, and inclusion stuff here. At Buckley, we believe our differences are a source of collective strength and strive to cultivate a community where equity and justice are at the forefront and where every human being is valued and feels a true sense of belonging. The diversity standard here, affirmed by the Buckley School Board of Trustees, of which she is a member, established the Buckley School at the forefront of all independent schools for which diversity, equity, and inclusion are invaluable components of an academic and co-curricular experience preparing students for college and navigating a global community. Expand the diversity initiative with sustainable programs, trainings, professional development opportunities, guest speakers, educational field trips, and other activities to continuously educate all community members. Make equity and inclusion a strategic focus of curriculum development to ensure that the initiative is systematically infused into each classroom and every component of Buckley's philosophy. Increase diversity by actively seeking new and improved ways to retain, support, and recruit diverse student body, faculty, and staff. The Board of Trustees also promotes these initiatives through the work of its DEI committee. Equity and inclusion are foundational at Buckley, shaping everything from curriculum design to event planning, fostering K-12 community of belonging, lower school clubs exploring culture, identity, and community, middle and upper school affinity groups, cultural celebrations throughout the year, student-led conversations that foster understanding and connection, parent learning and discussion opportunities, DEI assemblies. Students lead monthly assemblies that spark curiosity, encourage meaningful conversations, and help our community learn more for one another. Past topics have included women, leaders of color, LGBTQIA art. Have you heard? People are starting to say that as LGBTQIA plus as LGBTQIA.
Are you really?
I saw it. I saw it recently. Said completely unironically, and I nearly died of cringe. So LGBTQIA art and expression and anti-Semitic black hair, microfinance, long COVID, mental health, and women in Iran. Intersections of identity. Every 9th grade student at Buckley takes this signature course, which builds awareness, leadership skills, and identity development. Every 9th grade student at Buckley takes this course. So instead of learning math or history, they're exploring big themes such as power, systems of oppression, gentrification, and how dominant culture plays out in the media and creation of self-image. What? And this is the woman now, Vash, that is running this division of Disney, that has a huge position of power in Disney's consumer products and marketing division under Dana Walden. Vash, your thoughts on this?
Very, very interesting and great reporting there, Marvin. Really doing a deep dive right there, doing the yeoman's work. Very, very interesting because Lisa Baltzicki, who is the current president of Disney Consumer Products, only got the job about 5 months ago. So to have somebody else, now the SVP here, report to Asad Ayaz, and her, it's kind of an interesting formulation right there. I do wonder if that's part of this One Disney effort that we've been hearing Josh D'Amaro talk about at recent earnings calls and obviously recent appearances. Very, very interesting stuff indeed. The consumer products division actually being moved from parks was extremely noteworthy for multiple reasons. I mean, I think the entire Disney consumer products division actually pulled in, I believe, $63 billion right there, which is an absurd amount and far higher than their competitors in that particular field of industry right there. So Josh Hastings, I suppose, will be overseeing that operation, and I could only presume that what Disney's looking for from her is to increase those revenues. But I don't know, those qualifications right there, especially with her former associations, certainly give me pause.
Yeah, that is absolutely insane. So are we going to start seeing these kinds of initiatives being, pushed in? So basically, Dana Walden is staffing Disney up with a leadership team that kind of follows exactly the kind of thing that we have learned that she wants out of the Disney company. We have learned that Dana Walden is pushing for, more politics and things like that. She's Kamala Harris's bestie. So I think anyone that thought the Disney company was getting out of the culture war or out of politics, really should just take one long look at this, Vash, and be like, man, this is like, this is more of the same. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Bob Iger is still buying things he can't afford, and the Disney company is still putting people that are, entrenched in DEI initiatives into positions of power. So how do you think this bleeds over into the way Disney markets its consumer products? That's my question. Like, are we going to see more like very specific DEI focused marketing campaigns?
Well, we could also see products that actually take this approach as well, right? We have seen that there have been certain retailers, certainly certain consumer products divisions within various corporations and companies that want to do away with those gender stereotypes. Let's not have the boys aisle and girls aisle. Let's go ahead and all make it very, very inclusive right there. We could actually be seeing that, which is very interesting. I will note, too, that this is one of the most profitable divisions under the Disney banner, certainly part of the flywheel philosophy that Disney has shepherded for going on 30 plus years, even more than that in certain instances. It's very, very interesting that at the head of this division right here are a couple of ladies. Now, I'm not saying that ladies can't do the job. Obviously, as long as they're qualified, anybody can work in these roles. However, it is very interesting that key leadership positions within the organization under Dana Walden's control there are inhabiting these various qualities. It seems to be a pattern here.
Absolutely. Definitely does seem to be a pattern, and we are going to see what happens. Now, is that true? Like they're trying to do away with like gendered like sections of toy stores now?
Well, there has been discussion and talk amongst various retailers about doing something like that, right? And we've certainly heard, especially 2020 on, right? This idea that toys should be far more inclusive. When a kid or child is establishing themselves, right? The idea being that to have gendered toys at such a young age could be impressionistic. And so let's go ahead and do away with all of that. Let's let the kids choose. Very, very interesting.
We're in trouble as a species. Anyway, guys, this is what's happening right now. Disney has installed yet another another woman who's obsessed with DEI at a very high level of the company. What's going to happen? How is this going to be reflected in the Disney Consumer Products division as it moves under the studio's leadership? We'll find out soon, won't we? Well, leave your comments below and let us know what you think is going to happen. All right, Vash. Yeah, flying through today.
I know Chapek was a consumer products guy himself back in the day, and I just heard that he had a message for all of us.
Apologize for not being the ally that you needed me to be.
Just wasn't the ally.
He just was not the ally we needed him to be. WJB Daily for 5 says, so the Buckley students teach the adults teach and the adults and parents learn. Yeah, sounds like it. All brought on by the board of trustees, of which this woman is a member. So, Just a Dutchie is asking if my wife is forcing me to go on vacation. Yes. Yes, that's what's happening. And I have to go on cruises, Vash, because if I don't go on a cruise, I will try to work.
Yeah, I get it. I understand it. And maybe that's one of the reasons why cruising has become so ubiquitous nowadays, is because not only is it all inclusive, but it's all what is it? It isolates you. It separates you from the outside world, which the parks used to do. Not so much anymore.
Lauren bringing this up here. You guys heard about the Marvel Star Wars comics crossover? They've completely given up. So I talked about this in my live stream earlier, and we'll be doing a video on it today on the M4 Empire. Yes, it is the most desperate thing I've ever seen in my life. Have you heard about this, Vash?
I have not.
It's a Marvel Star Wars comic book crossover written by Kevin Smith. And if you had told me in like 2010 this was a thing that was going to happen, I would have like done a backflip. I would have been so excited. But it's current Star Wars, current Marvel, and current Kevin Smith. So I don't want any of it. But the funny thing about it, though, Vash, this is the point that I make in the video that I'm doing. is it's not Rey meeting Captain America Sam Wilson. It's Luke Skywalker and Captain America Steve Rogers.
Oh, those characters. I'd forgotten about them.
It's Vader. It's Leia, it's Han, it's Spider-Man, it's Wolverine. I believe Thanos is in there. Doom, Ultron. So
very interesting. What's better than one mediocre franchise combining it with another mediocre franchise?
But, the funny thing about it, and this is the question that I have about this, Pash, is the combination is, so it's not going to be like an Elseworlds or a What If story or anything like that. This is taking place in the main Marvel continuity, in the 616 Earth continuity. So it's going to be a major Marvel event. And now my question is this now going to officially be a part of Disney Star Wars canon?
Oh man.
Because if it is, that is really terrible.
I'm sure Lauren's rolling right now when he's hearing all of this. Look, and here's the scary thing, Marvin. If in fact this is extremely successful, how long is it until Kevin Feige, who happens to be a Star Wars fan himself, goes, we need to do this. We do this for real.
Also, it takes place a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Lauren says this is a very, very bad idea. Camera Boy says, which side of this crossover time? Because it's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Now, if they had done this Bash 3 years ago, this would have been Rey meeting Sam Wilson and Captain Marvel, and Kylo Ren meeting up with Shang-Chi, and it would have been all of that. And they've surrendered. They've basically been like, we understand. So when we actually need a win, we have to go back to Steve Rogers. We have to go back to Luke. We have to go back to all of this stuff. So
of course, I mean the things that make money and sell merchandise. Yeah, those things.
I am altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
Exactly. Lawrence is the only person who's actually going to be excited about this is Patton Oswalt. Yes. Yes. His filibuster. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah, not a good idea at all. But Vash, we got another story we have to get to. So let's get to hold on. We have another member chat that came in actually. Let me get that real quick. The FTM member for 6 months. So that's another anniversary. Congratulations, FTM. Not all women agree with the unmagical agenda. Well, no, that's correct. We all know that.
And let me just be clear. I'm not saying that all women do. I'm not saying that all women are unqualified for any position. No, I'm saying the exact opposite. I think women can be extremely qualified. But is that the basis for this, SVP position, right? Not sure. And we have seen that Dana Walden has been a champion of women. For example, actually going head to head with Alan Bergman when it came to the fate of Kathleen Kennedy back in the day.
Yeah, because Bergman wanted her gone, right?
Bergman wanted her gone, yes. And but Dana Walden, no, we gotta keep her. Oh, she's so important. It's like, is she though? By the way, how's that Rey movie going? Do we hear any?
Coming along great. Yeah, it's still happening, Vash. Don't worry, it's still on the schedule. Sure. Troy Gustafson says we need to get Lauren on blood pressure meds, and Lauren goes, "I am already on blood pressure meds." Oh my goodness. All right, so let's get into our next story, Vash. I believe we're going to be talking a bit about the Lightning Lane here. One of our favorite topics of conversation here on the show, the Lightning Lane. Let's talk about it here today.
It's showtime! Straight from the heart of the park.
Disney is going to be offering discounts on Lightning Lane this fall. This despite the fact that apparently the company is doing so very, very well. We are going to see a big discount. You could now save hundreds on Lightning Lane passes this September, Vash. And we're going to talk about today on That Park Place. This comes to us from The Travel, written by Jasmine Gillette, or Gillette. I'm not sure which one it is. Pick one of the two. A Walt Disney World vacation can prove to be very expensive. Yeah, no kidding. Especially with the parks using dynamic pricing models and charging for extra services like photography sessions. However, after losing out to a free-to-enter competitor for the title of Best U.S. Amusement Park, Disney is giving its visitors a chance to save on one of its most expensive add-ons and beat long wait times in the process. The price of its Lightning Lane Premier Pass is being slashed at all 4 Walt Disney World theme parks this September, potentially saving some visitors hundreds of dollars. Disney's Lightning Lane system currently has 3 tiers and is available across Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Animal Kingdom, and Hollywood Studios. The single pass covers 1 attraction per purchase, while the multi-pass allows guests to select multiple attractions, both reducing the amount of time thrill seekers have to spend in line. The Premier Pass allows guests to access the Lightning Lane for eligible attractions throughout an entire park for a day without having to make individual selections for each ride, aka it's the Universal Express Pass. The price for a Premier Pass fluctuates by park and date and has gained criticism since its launch in 2024 due to its high costs out of reach for many families. Despite this, the pass regularly sells out during high demand periods such as Christmas, spring break, and Thanksgiving, when prices are at their highest and lines are at their longest. This September, however, is shaping up to be a very different story. Disney's Lightning Lane Premier cost this September versus typical. Now, Magic Kingdom is typically $300 to $400, and you're going to get it for $299, which is a savings of $101 potentially. Epcot, $149, typically $169 to $249, a savings of $100. Animal Kingdom, $119, a savings of $129 to $199, a savings of $80. Hollywood Studios, $249, going to $269, which I'm sorry, $249 down from $269 to $349, which is a savings of $100. So all of these are like, these 3 are all lower, but the $299 versus the $300, that's a dollar difference. So, but when it comes to the typical high range, it would be a savings of about $100. So,
well, I do believe when Magic Kingdom first debuted the Lightning Lane Premier Pass, I thought the minimum that they were saying it was going to be was anywhere between $319 to $329 or something. So the fact that they have lowered it considerably to $299, and we've seen, these various parks actually lower from their lows in terms of price elasticity, is extremely interesting, especially considering that remember we heard from Hugh Johnson, no, bookings are up in the summer of 2026. We'll be fine, and Q3.
And here's the thing, guys, but you're gonna see attendance numbers go up this fall. You're definitely going to see it. And it's not because suddenly the fortunes have all turned around and people are flooding into the parks during the day. That's not going to be the case. The reason for it, Bash, is because of the hard ticket after hours events like Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, which essentially, which always sells out and basically counts as double the attendance for Magic Kingdom for that day.
Yes, absolutely. There's no question about that. I think that's a really astute observation right there, because I think this is squarely within Q4, what we're seeing right now. And don't be deceived. I mean, it was extremely low there. And so if you do have a 1% or 2% incline, like you said, Marvin, brilliantly, I think that those incremental increases are coming specifically from these parties, and it might be why Disney has placed so much of an enhanced emphasis on these parties in the recent history right here.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you look at what it says here, at Magic Kingdom, the cost of the Premier Pass will fall to $299 on August 23rd. Now that is the lowest price point to date. It will then continue until August 25th, which is just for 2 days, before rising again to $329 on August 28th. Then, when September arrives, the Magic Kingdom Premier Pass will return to the price of $299 on the first Halloween party date of the month. Well, that also makes sense because you're not paying for a full day at that point. All right, so now suddenly this makes more sense to me, Mash, because you're paying $299 for a day where the Magic Kingdom closes at like 6 o'clock. 7 o'clock.
Right. So that's a fair point, right? So it's kind of like, okay, well, you're already getting a truncated day, so let's go ahead and set that price even lower. It's very, very interesting that even within their originally established pricing model for this particular product, they didn't actually factor that in before. Very, very interesting that they are factoring that in now, especially when the offerings of Magic Kingdom are that great to begin with.
I would say this is actually growth, because the Disney company of yesteryear would not have cared. It just charged you full price. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's a fair point. So it's just a kind of an interesting evolution of this product. And look, I actually slightly disagree with this author right here. I believe that a product like this should be the only product available and sold within reason, because I think we've talked about this before, Marvin. It's just a worse experience when everybody is quote unquote special, right? Going off of that amazing, indelible Incredibles quote, right? If everybody's special, no one is. And so many people on the system tying up those lightning lanes and so forth, it actually backs up not just those lightning lane queues, but the standby queues as well, especially when an attraction goes down and so forth. So to have an item like Premier Lightning Lane, I think it should be the established standard, sold within reason, and then move forward right there. Originally, this was a product actually created for Disneyland back in the day. Walt Disney World adapted it, but even now they're having problems, which is interesting.
So this author says there are two major reasons why Disney World is cutting the prices of both its premier and multi-lane passes. The first is Disney's Halloween party schedule, where regular day guests without tickets to the event will be forced to leave the park at 6 p.m. ahead of the evening's festivities. Yeah, 6 p.m. With fewer operating hours available than Disney appears to be adjusting the price. Again, something they have not done in the past. The second reason is, or at least not that I know of, the second reason is seasonal timing. The final week of August and the beginning of September are typically quieter periods at Disney. It can't get much quieter than it was in July. Otherwise, there'd be nobody there as families return home from vacations and children start school. So Disney Tourist Blog has written that for each of the last 3 years, the last week of August has had the lowest year-to-date crowds up to that point at Walt Disney World, with average wait times under 25 minutes and 1 to 10 crowd levels. So not much reason to buy Lightning Lane in that kind of crowd level, Vash. And honestly, this is historically true. I used to go... when I was a kid, we would always go the last week of August because schools up north are still out for the summer, but Florida schools are back in session. So they went back this week. Stupid kids. If line waits during the time of year are shorter, guests may not need to spend money on a Lightning Lane pass to avoid them. Yes, obviously. So lower Lightning Lane prices, they said, could make September a better time to visit Disney World. Now, September used to be the best time to visit Disney World. I mean, early September, especially like right around Labor Day, when all the kids would go back to school, that was the best time to go to Disney World. Because you walked on everything. You just had to avoid the Jewish holidays because the long weekend would then bring all the locals out. Yeah, because there are the Jewish high holidays in September. So yeah, Vash. So what do you think? Lowering the Lightning Lane, does it make it any better, or is this still like sticking in your craws? Like, this is a thing we used to get for free, and now, or not free, it was included in our price, and now we've sapped the value out of the Disney vacation by doing this.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a great look, right? And back in the day, it used to be, well, the company, from the company's standpoint, doesn't want to be perceived as nakedly greedy by offering these extra cost add-ons and having these extra cost services like Fast Pass and so forth. It was like, well, that's a bridge too far. Now, obviously, especially post-Chapek era, all of that is undone. All of that is like out the window. We got to make as much money as possible.
Yes, people used to recommend doing stuff like this, and I think Disney's response, especially in the Eisner era, was,
You didn't. Well, of all the cheap, lousy ways to save a buck.
But once the Chapek era hit, and then the second Bob Iger era, it was all about bringing in that money, no matter what.
No matter how the company's perceived and everything else. Now, I do think, if in fact you are going to be in Walt Disney World for a very short amount of time and you want to, make sure you hit your most favorite attractions and so forth, maybe this product makes sense. But honestly, though, I think with the normal Lightning Lane, you can do some really good damage, especially on those kind of 6-7 crowd level days right there. So do you necessarily need a product like this unless it's extremely packed and your schedule is extremely short? Doesn't quite make sense to me, especially for a family of 4 or anything like that. So even at these diminished price points, I just don't really necessarily see the value. Now, opposite can be said actually for Disneyland, and this is originally what the product was actually built for. Disneyland actually includes not only Disneyland Park, but Disney California Adventure. It's a one set price in which if you have a park hopper, you can benefit from both parks attractions right there. And if you are have a truncated schedule maybe in the LA or Los Angeles or I should say Southern California area, maybe that actually makes sense for you. And I think there is some pretty good value right there, because I think that includes something like 20 to 25 attractions or something like that. So pretty decent value. Again, expedited time window, and maybe that doesn't make sense for a family of 4. But the problem with Lightning Lane is that it's a little bit too accessible. And so that's where we get the huge saturation levels. We've heard on earnings calls before that 50% opt-in on any one day at Walt Disney World. And it's like, that's a little bit too high. Can we have some moderation with that? So if Lightning Lane Premier was the only option available, I could say, that's a valuation change right there. And especially if it was limited in quantity, maybe that actually makes sense. But with the already existing Lightning Lane product or Lightning Lane multi-plat pass and single pass, I don't think it quite makes sense.
Well, there you have it, guys. Lightning Lane going to be a little bit cheaper this fall, but it's up to you whether you think it still has any kind of value.
I thought that chicken tacos were better than the rest.
Are you ready for perfect, authentic Mexican cooking just like your mama used to make? Come on down to Mexican Iron Man's Rabbit Chicken Tacos and Lawn Care Services, where not only do you get the freshest in Mexican cuisine, but you also get a fresh cut lawn. And don't forget to check out our second location, wherever the police have not yet run the van away from.
Mexican Iron Man, rabbit chicken tacos, lawn care services.
And if you think the cilantro tastes very fresh, it's no accidente, amigo.
Classic.
There you go. I didn't realize it wasn't full screen when I played it.
Yeah. Old formatting.
I used to think that was that was Steve doing the voiceover. I didn't realize it was Pro.
Yeah, I remember we were we were all sitting around a breakfast place in and that's a Sunny USA, whatever the terminology is. I remember you establishing like, wait a minute, that's you, Pro, and it was a very, very interesting conversation.
Yeah, I thought it was Steve because of the like the little laugh, like it sounds like Wilton's laugh. So I was like,
good point.
I thought it was Steve. So apparently that's Pro. Pro is the master of all things voices. So,
indeed.
All right, Vash. I think we're going to save our like really juicy one for the last one. So let's get in. Let's see if any more super chats have come in. Yes, Freedom Seeker, member for 5 months, says, I recall saving hundreds on Lightning Lane. It was called Fast Pass. Yes.
Yeah.
It was. And Fast
I
Pass
know.
was.
And that's the problem, Marvin, with when you're looking at the evaluation for Walt Disney World and whether or not it's good value for the guest, right? So many of those things used to be included with your admission media, or maybe even included in your stay when you were staying on Walt Disney World Resort property. And now so many of those things have been parsed out, made their own separate products. Why would you necessarily stay on property? But moreover than that, is the value really worth it, especially for consumers if they haven't gone since 2019? I don't know, man. It's just not a good look, and maybe that's why they're trying to rush out all of these attractions now in order to increase that valuation.
Well, Vash, speaking of trying to rush out attractions, they are definitely trying to rush out something, and let's talk about what it is right now.
There we go. One more for the top. Triple decker, just how you like it.
Wow, thanks, Mr. Walt.
You enjoy it.
We will.
The Disney company has several new lands in production right now, ready to be opened, but it looks like we're going to be getting one of them before the others. Tropical Americas and Animal Kingdom might be the next land to open in Walt Disney World. What does this mean for things like Cars Land and Villains Land in the Magic Kingdom? Let's take a look at it today on That Park Place. All right, Vash. So when will the Tropical Americas open? I gotta close this little video over here because they're doing this stupid thing with the Muppets that I hate. When they actually show the puppeteer, I hate that so much. But so this is Jumbo from Animal Kingdom. This is from Disney Tourist Blog, written by Tom Bricker. He says, in the span of only a month, Walt Disney World has made major showing it again over here. Walt Disney World has made major progress on Tropical Americas. Given the latest milestone and pace of construction only days before the 2026 D23 Expo, we're wondering whether Walt Disney World will reveal not just details about Indiana Jones Adventure and the Encanto Magical Madrigal Casita attraction, but also opening dates. That's very interesting to say here, Vash, because it does look like this would be their last opportunity to do so at a D23. So what we're expecting from the Tropical Americas at the 2026 D23 Expo as the only project at Walt Disney World that is definitely opening before the 2028 D23 Expo. This is the event for really pulling back the curtain on Tropical Americas. We've already seen a detailed model of Tropical Americas that was on display at the last D23 Expo and is now in Walt Disney Presents at Hollywood Studios. Given that, we're expecting Tropical Americas to get deep dive treatment at the 2026 D23 Expo, which is inside the attractions. Now, let's have a look here, Vash. It looks like this is the entrance right here to Tropical Americas. We've got a fountain here in the center. This looks like an attraction building over here, actually. Doesn't it?
Yes, it does. But I think it's just
attraction.
No, I think it's just maybe perhaps the accompaniment, the various shops and restaurants that used to be there that'll be rebranded.
Maybe. But when you come over here, you have the casita over here, and here's the attraction building for that ride. So I'm assuming that's going to have a pretty cool queue that winds around inside the house, and then you actually go in through here. Now over here you have the Indiana Jones attraction. There's the attraction building back there. Obviously, this is mostly just a reskin. It's probably going to have the same exact track layout as Dinosaur had. So, all right, let's see what they're saying here. This should mean new concept art and details about show scenes, model ride vehicles, story specifics for each attraction, and proper names. Footage of audio animatronics and effects being tested by Imagineers would be sure to impress the D23 audience. I wouldn't expect Imagineering to reveal everything about Encanto and Indiana Jones attractions, as they'll want to save something to tease in the lead up to opening. I think that Tom Bricker is being a little optimistic here, Vash. This is still something that's over a year. That's probably over a year away. I don't think they're showing you anything yet.
I think they're showing you very little. Maybe some animatics, maybe some pre-visualizations, but nothing really like crazy groundbreaking. I mean, maybe you get an animatronic video footage of it. We've seen that with like I think back in the day, Shanghai Zootopia may have showed off the Clawhauser animatronic back in the day at a D23 Expo, if I remember correctly. Anyway, it's just I don't know. That is a little bit optimistic to me. I will say, Marvin, I think Tom Bricker is right in that I think an enhanced emphasis will be placed on Tropical America specifically because, like you pointed out at the beginning of this article, it is the project that will be opening before the next D23 Expo. So this is really the only time I can actually showcase this substantially.
I think we're probably going to get something along the lines of we'll go behind the scenes at the construction site. We'll get an Imagineer standing there being like, it's going great.
And so what we've tried to do is really bring that shape language from the architecture.
But like what we love to talk about at WDI is shape language. And we often refer to shape language.
There's such iconic shape language in Spaceship Reverie attraction. We really wanted to make sure that we fused to that throughout the space.
Yeah. I think you're going to get stuff like that. I don't think you're getting anything in particular. I think Bricker is setting himself up for disappointment. So he says, I wouldn't expect Imagineering to reveal everything. Oh, we read that part already. For instance, the larger-than-life climactic scene in Encanto would be a good reveal. Disney already told us about this scene where Antonio has just received his special gift, the ability to communicate with animals, and his room is transformed into a rainforest, and even showed us a piece of concept art. But there's a reason to believe this will be a showstopper, pulling back the curtain on the mythical creature. Presumably, the Kukulkan or Kazakh. What the heck? That's at the heart of the Indiana Jones adventure would also make sense. Showing more of the temple inside and outside would also reinforce the ambition of the transformation, as it's still difficult to envision how the Dino Institute is going to become a remote Mayan temple. I'm sure they'll bring Kiwi Kwan back out for this. You remember what I said? Oh, get this thing out of here. I hate it so much. What I had originally said I thought was going to be the like the big selling point of this was I thought it was going to be Indiana Jones and Short Round, but Short Round as an adult. So I still think Kiwi Kwan is going to be in this. It's still difficult to envision how the Dino Institute is going to become a remote Mayan temple. From a planning perspective, the most intriguing possibility is Walt Disney World announcing an opening timeline for Tropical Americas. One thing we already know from the last D23 Expo is that it's slated to open in 2027. This was the first project to start, with groundbreaking back on January 17th of 2025. In fact, Tropical Americas remains the only major project for either Walt Disney World or Disneyland with an opening year. Everything else you've seen concerning opening timelines for Monstropolis 2028, Piston Peaks Cars Land 2029, Villains Land 2030 or beyond is purely speculative based on educated guesses at best. When Tropical Americas will open is really what I'm wondering at this point. So I made a visit to Animal Kingdom to see where progress was, see the progress for myself in order to make a better prediction about what will be announced. So here's what he found. That's a lot of exposed steel there, Vash. Biggest development as of mid-August is actually what's missing from these images: the tower crane that's been assembling the Encanto show building and other large elements of Tropical Americas. Construction crews installed the large tower crane in Animal Kingdom for vertical construction of the Encanto show building in September 2025. Since then, it's loomed over the construction site and been visible from all around Animal Kingdom. Tower cranes are used to do the heavy lifting up to the highest reaches of construction sites, including but not limited to steel beams and other bulky materials. On Walt Disney World projects, they're typically used during the primary vertical stages of a project, often when the show building is being built or when structures are erected. So I guess he's saying here that he thinks that the vertical building is over because the crane is gone. Tower cranes typically come down once the show building is fully enclosed and the heavy lifting is done. What do you think?
I believe that's what he's saying. I think it's it's like, oh well, if the show building is fully enclosed, and that way they can start shipping stuff in and maybe dressing up the exterior and so forth from sightlines and all of that. I don't know though. This seems pretty ambitious, and this is why I think the target date for a lot of these projects, at least historically, right, and where operations managers like to have these things open, has been at the very start of summer. I don't think any of this stuff is necessarily ready for its big debut for early summer 2027. I think for Encanto, that's probably going to be the last thing that opens. Indy is probably going to be the next thing that the first of these big attractions to open, because it is just a reskin versus an establishment of an entirely new ride in Encanto. And then maybe some of the smaller exhibits and attractions will open very first, and perhaps that includes the carousel that they are building currently with the Indian carver there.
Right. So he says also that a smaller crane is still on site, is likely all it's needed for framing of the magical casita. That's what's pictured here, is the smaller crane. So speaking of which, it says the casita continues to rise in front of the massive show building. And that's what we're seeing right here, is the show building. As we previously mentioned, the idea is to make the magical family home appear to be a freestanding structure, not a false facade on a gigantic show building. So that's fine. Just paint it blue. We won't even see it. Right,
yeah, exactly. Just goes right in with the sky. Can't even discern.
Paint it blue and then a little bit of green so it blends in with the foliage. Yeah, no, we're fine. The show building behind it should be largely hidden from guest view by blocking sightlines via vegetation and other structures of Tropical Americas, including the elevated casita. We've seen comments from concerned fans worried the structure is too small based on aerial photos. After seeing the casita in person from just outside the walls, I'm fairly confident this is not going to be a repeat of Be Our Guest restaurant and its infamous toy castle. The casita is considerable inside. Just wait till Villains Land comes out. More akin to Beast Castle at Tokyo Disneyland. It's much more prominent than the show building in the distance. So this is what it's going to look like here. We're going to have the casita looking like a freestanding structure. We'll have all of this vegetation blocking the show building. There will be, looks like, some hills and stuff on top of the show building, which I guarantee, I would put money on are not going to be there. Off in the distance, you don't get the compression of images shot with the telephoto lens fool you. There's a lot of separation. You can see the steel mesh for the rock work concealed in the show building. So let's take a look here. Yeah, we got more work over here. I guess is that like a carousel? So work on this has been moving fast. We wouldn't be surprised if it starts taking its final form. Resembles a magical family home before Christmas. Yeah, the critter carousel. That's the other thing that we've got coming right here.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so beams are up for the carousel itself as well as the roof of the carousel queue. So here's some more photos. You know, they are building upwards, which is a, you know, I'm guessing this right here is going to be this entrance structure right here that we see in the concept art. Yeah.
The casita is basically like a 2-story Latin America home. So I would be shocked if they didn't actually bring that full scale. Like I'd be like, really? You couldn't build a home out in the middle of Florida?
You might as well, right?
Yeah, you might as well.
We've seen some rock work. Yeah. So now, Vash, here's my question about this. By the way, this looks nothing like this. So just to point that out. So this is opening 2027. What do we think this means for things like Cars Land and Villains Land? Because now Cars Land, I honestly think that there is a good chance that we don't get Cars Land until 2030.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if we're looking at this timeline right here, I think they do want to kind of stretch all this stuff out. So I think the very earliest we might see Cars Land is 2029, but it's looking more like 2030 to me, Marvin, especially with the speed at which these projects are actually specifically moving, which might place Monsters Inc. at roughly 2028/2029, and then Villains Land beyond that. I think that is the timeline that we're actually looking at when it comes to these specific projects right here. Very interesting about Cars Land because it's one of the most developed projects. Apparently they're going to have a model to showcase for D23 recipients there over the weekend. They put out a video showing that they were shipping it, putting it out there, which will be interesting. But that's one of the first, things that we get our hands on, and that's usually years in advance. So if we're looking at historically, it's like, I mean, we got an Avatar model kind of thing at the last D23 Ultimate Fan event in 2024, and we're not even close for that to break ground, at least at Disney California Adventure. So it's kind of like, okay, even though we see these things and we see these visualizations, doesn't mean it's going to be hitting a theme park anytime soon.
Outside of mentioning that these things are under construction, do you think we're going to hear anything about Villains Land and Cars Land at D23? Because I can honestly see a world, because it's not going to be open before 2028. So I think 2028 will be when they try to start really pushing that. Maybe even 2030, because I don't think Villains Land opens before 2030.
I think for Cars Land, or Piston Peak I think is what they're calling it, for that specific project right there, I think we get to see a bit. I think they heard that especially in the context of getting rid of Rivers of America back in the day, juxtaposing that footage of them filling in Rivers of America and closing that off and getting rid of Liberty Bell, along with those kind of Doom Buggy footage right there, didn't actually go well back in the day. So I do think we actually get some visualization of what the replacement for Rivers of America will actually be, especially given that they're going to have the model and everything else. Villains Land, though, it's just so far out, Marvin. I'd be surprised if we even get a name for what it is, to be honest. I just don't think we're going to get much in terms of visualization. We might get, if we're really lucky, some kind of concept rendering showing from an aerial perspective what it roughly looks like, but we know that those can change a lot. Star Wars Galaxy's Edge did something like this, I think back in 2017, and obviously when that land opened, it was much, much different, right? So I just don't see Villains Land providing any substantiation, at least at this expo. I think they're going to wait till probably the next one.
Agreed. So there you have it, guys. Tropical America is coming to you relatively soon. Everything else coming to you not very soon at all. So we're going to have to see what happens at D23 this weekend.
The shadow grows. We must act. The enemy has found the roost. Our arrows are ready, but we need a plan. Then we fly to Mordor. Flock for the plan. By the lines of Rooster. Take that, you brave. What have they done?
Mountains whisper tales of fire and frost. Shadows rise where the borders are lost. Through the woods where the ancient ones sing, I hear the call of the elder ring. One sword to guide me, one heart to bind me through snow and flame, through night and sky.
You're out in the countryside and you see chicken. Try to look a chicken in the eye with great intensity, and the intensity of stupidity that is looking back at you is just amazing.
Every time.
I will say, those chicken tendies that Lauren is, chomping into look pretty good right now.
From the second, like, I can make it through like the beginning of it without laughing, but the second those chickens are like, and we see Lauren like eating the chicken fingers, I lose it, and I'm like a mess for like the entire rest of it. I just cannot stop laughing. And then at the end, when the little like chunky chickens are like in their armor and they're like jumping at him, and he's just sitting there with the sword, this big smile on his face. Man, this is the greatest thing Pro's ever created. Oh, it's so good.
It's pretty good.
All right, Vash, let's see. Do we have any other? We do have more super chats. Tyler Golosinski for $5 says, "Hey Marv, just wonder if you heard the news that Bob Iger found $12 billion and bought the LA Lakers, and now he's off to ruin basketball." Yep, that was our lead story here on the stream. So if you want to hear us talk about that, Tyler, just head on back to the beginning, and yeah, we talked about it for a good 15 minutes, I think.
Yes.
But yeah, that was our lead story. It's crazy, and yeah. Can't wait to see Rachel Zegler become the head cheerleader for the Lakers.
Fantastic.
02RR for $4.99 says, "Look, there's a lion. Oh my gosh." Animal Kingdom is now the infamous zoo where a man took the phrase "nature is calling me" very inappropriately. Yes. Yes. Nature called and that man answered. Remember the guy that jumped off the that jumped off the thing, and
Yep.
I should find that clip to play it for. I think I was trying to play it for Tyler, and I couldn't find it.
You couldn't find it, really? Huh.
Yeah.
I might have it in my notes. If you need it, I'll go ahead.
Yeah, probably don't need
Slide
it now.
over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. All right, Vash, we got one more story left to get before we get over to the Vash Sky Parkcast. So let's have a look at what's going on in our grand finale story. And this is a doozy. This is a big one. It's so infuriating.
I just can't wait for 3 days of you and me.
Well, former Walt Disney World president Josh Valley has just shown us everything wrong with the modern Disney company. He suggests that guests don't have enough information to judge the decisions that Disney makes because Disney knows more than you. So let's talk about it today, Vash, on That Park Place. Look, Jeff Vale. I think we settled on Valley as the way to pronounce it, right?
I think so, yes.
Okay, whatever. We're going to say Valley. If it's Vale, then I don't really care because you know what? I could be wrong because Disney knows more than me. They know how to pronounce it.
That's
So
true.
let's talk about what he said here. Former Walt Disney World president Jeff Valley offered a remarkable defense of controversial leadership decisions as he reflected on his 36 years at the Walt Disney Company, suggesting that people criticizing those decisions simply may not possess the information available to Disney executives. In an interview with the Orlando Business Journal following his retirement, Valley discussed the realities of leadership and acknowledged that people will inevitably disagree with decisions made by those in charge. His explanation for that disagreement, however, is where things get interesting. He said, quote, "Not everyone is always going to agree with the decisions that you make, but you have to understand that there's information they don't have that we do. That's important," he said, according to the quote highlighted by Boardwalk Times. That's certainly one way to look at it, Vash.
It is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, another might be that Disney's paying customers sometimes know exactly what they like, what they dislike, and what they're willing to spend their money on, and maybe we shouldn't be so dismissive of that. Vash, this is what a tone deaf statement made by a tone deaf man who presided over one of the worst periods in Walt Disney World history.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the losses just that have been mounted within these last 10 years is just incredible when you look at it. It is just very, very enlightening. How many decisions have been made, and especially by the people in charge of this famous, amazing, beloved Walt Disney World Resort right here. Look, and we've heard from both Hugh Johnston and also too from Josh D'Amaro and some others in the past, right? How they have, forecasting, projections, spreadsheets, everything to tell them whether or not their, investments are going to be, the bee's knees, especially long term and everything like that. But the danger here is that you are essentially making short term decisions, right? That will affect the future of Walt Disney World from here until infinitum, and you're doing it based off of spreadsheet data, but not necessarily examining, on a per project basis, what does that mean when you upend the Rivers of America? What does that mean for a guest when you actually take out something like Jim Henson's last amazing work in Muppet Vision 3D? What effect does that have on the guest? There are so many things that don't wind up on a spreadsheet that these executives have convinced themselves that they are doing the absolute right thing and that these things had to go. And, obviously, we're not getting the ROI from this particular area, or we're not getting, we have these maintenance obligations with Rivers of America and Liberty Bell that we have to go ahead and set aside. So this is all progress, you see, and it's like this is just not what really founded the Walt Disney Company and its amazing products like Disneyland, for example. Walt didn't do that. He didn't look at spreadsheets. He looked at feel, guest satisfaction, how people would actually take, I don't know, a castle at the end of a, small town main street, that kind of thing.
Well, that's the thing here, Vash, is the Disney Company now is algorithm driven. It's all driven by spreadsheets and consumer data. And you're right. That is a complete. It is. One might say it's the antithesis of Walt's dream, and maybe this person might say it.
And Dreamer's Point is the antithesis of the idea that Walt had this incredible optimism and hope for the future. That if we all work together and we all dream together, we could build the impossible and make it our reality.
Exactly. So basically. So Disney credits him with Tron Lightcycle, Jeff Valley, with Tron Lightcycle Run, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, Tiana's Bayou Adventure, the reimagined Test Track, Journey of Water, and the Country Bear Musical Jamboree. And that's exactly why his comments deserve scrutiny. So basically what he's saying here is Disney knows better than you. Now, obviously, there's a reasonable point here. Executives have access to information that customers don't, and Disney leadership can see attendance figures, guest surveys, financial projections, operating expenses, attraction capacity, maintenance costs, demographic information, and countless other pieces of internal data that the average person visiting Magic Kingdom doesn't ever see. But having more data does not automatically make your decision correct. More importantly, it doesn't invalidate the response of the customer. If Disney decides that a change makes sense based on internal data and its customers respond by rejecting that change, the customer is not wrong because they didn't have access to the spreadsheets, Vash. The customers who you have to convince. Yeah, go ahead.
No, absolutely. The customer is who you have to convince, and in the context of something like Tion's Bio Adventure, right? We know for a fact that the Brer Rabbit, Brer Bear, Brer Fox, and all of that that merchandise associated with Splash Mountain used to move, used to sell. Going into previously the what would it be, the Briar Patch, Laughing Place, whatever you want to call it, the shops
Right.
that can be found within the proximity of Splash Mountain before it was taken over by the Critter Club and all of that. We know that what was in there was Splash Mountain merchandise. It didn't have to be augmented by any outside, IP or franchises or whatever. They just sold Splash Mountain, and it moved. We also know, just because of our, because we have two eyes, is that they have whittled away at some of that merchandise that they actually crafted for Tion's Bio Adventure back in the day. It doesn't move. It doesn't sell. It wasn't a hit franchise, and yet they went forward with it. So even with all of the data available to you, you can still make objectively wrong decisions. And maybe, in fact, when it comes to Tion's Bio Adventure, it wasn't simply motivated by those spreadsheets, but there should have been executives telling them, hey, look, listen, do not do this.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So let's look at some of Valley's more controversial decisions. The statement, whether he's intending it that way or not, encapsulates the attitude that's frustrated Disney parks for years. We understand why we're doing this and you don't, but guests don't need to understand that. Remember Genie Plus? Disney launched Genie Plus at Walt Disney World in October 2021, replacing the previously included FastPass Plus system with a service that charged guests for access to Lightning Lane entrances. Certain highly demanded attractions could even require separate. We all know this, right? Guests nevertheless understood the part that mattered to them. Something previously so Disney undoubtedly had plenty of information that guests didn't have when it made that decision, Vash. But guests understood that something previously included with their increasingly expensive Disney World vacation had been replaced by another opportunity for Disney to reach into their wallets. And they don't like it. Disney had to overhaul the system repeatedly. There were theme park reservations, another pandemic-era creation that survived long after Walt Disney World reopened. Eventually, Disney eliminated reservation requirements for date-based tickets, although reservations can still be required for certain other admission types like annual passes. Again, perhaps Disney possessed mountains of internal information supporting every iteration of this. Guests were still able to say, no, we don't like this. The Galactic Star Cruiser. Probably the most devastating rebuttal to the idea that access to superior internal information produces superior decisions is the Star Cruiser MASH. The opened in March 2022, closed in September 2023. Disney had the Imagineers, the market research, the financial models, and access to arguably at the time the most valuable entertainment IP in modern history. Disney possessed a lot more information about Galactic Star Cruiser than customers that it hoped would purchase for the experience. Customers, of course, had something even more important, their wallets, and ultimately they got the final vote. The Galactic Star Cruiser shut its airlock forever just 19 months after opening because that's how consumer business works. We don't need Disney's permission to hate something. Disney demolished Splash Mountain, replaced it with Tiana's Bio Adventure. That was Jeff Valley. The company permanently closed Rivers of America, Tom Sawyer Island, the Liberty Square Riverboat in 2025 to make way for a Cars-themed expansion that nobody needs. Muppet Vision 3D closed for a Monsters, Inc. expansion that nobody asked for. Disney executives may have had very good business reasons for every one of these decisions, Vash, but that doesn't mean the guests who hated them were just uninformed rubes who simply couldn't comprehend Disney's grand plan. Perhaps some guests understood the trade-off perfectly well and still thought that Disney made the wrong decision, heaven forbid. That's the possibility Valley's statement seems to overlook here. The customer, remember here, and this is the point that I really wanted to make in this article, the customer has information that Disney doesn't. And that's the delicious irony of this situation, because Disney possesses information that guests don't have, but guests also possess one piece of information that Disney executives can never dictate whether or not they want to buy. Spreadsheet cannot make someone love an attraction. Guest survey data can't make someone feel nostalgic for a placement they never wanted, A demographic study can't force someone to believe that the latest IP-driven attraction is better than the experience that Disney demolished to build it. And an executive can't explain someone into believing they're receiving good value for their money. Disney can spend years researching a decision, millions developing it, and produce a 100-page presentation explaining why it makes perfect strategic sense, and the guests can still look at it and say no. That is the marketplace, and that's the reality that something like this is just completely pushing away, right?
Absolutely correct. 100% right there. There are just things that don't end up on a spreadsheet. And like you said, the consumer is always right. And obviously, you have to give consumers a product that is worth paying for. When you actually jack up the price to the extent they have and get rid of those classic attractions that maybe people wanted to enjoy with their kids, like they did when they were children. Well, that becomes a sticking point, an issue, a problem, a friction point that maybe consumers, don't actually opt in to your resort stay. It's very interesting, Marvin, because it's just the Rivers of America. I understand it from a spreadsheet's perspective. I get it. It costs you money. It costs you money to maintain the river. It costs you money to maintain Tom Sawyer's Island. You can't sail lightning on it. Obviously, Liberty Bell, right? It's an old steam paddle wheeler, right? There's a significant cost associated with that. I get that. I understand that. However, it's for those particular items, like the Rivers of America, like Tom Sawyer's Island, like Liberty Bell, why people value the Magic Kingdom above all else, or at least partially, right? And why they actually went to Walt Disney World. It wasn't just about extracting cash and, looking towards ROI, and certainly that's the calculation that they made when installing things like Cars Land and Villains Land. They wanted to sell that Lightning Lane, they wanted to sell that merch and all of that. But if you don't provide them that atmosphere, those intangible, let's say, amazing experiences like Rivers of America, then why necessarily go to Walt Disney World at all? They've lost that in their equation. They've lost that in their algorithm, their data, and so forth. As you bring out beautifully, Marvin, that it's just data. Obviously, that can fill out your worldview, and that can obviously be a very important decision making, but it can also lead you astray as well.
100%. You are totally right, and that is the problem. When you are unable, it's like the Lego movie, right? Where it's like when you're unable to look beyond the instructions and be able to actually create with your imagination and be able to create something spectacular, you're always going to be limited. You're always going to be on rails. And that's the thing. Nobody at the Disney company is imagining anything anymore. They're not trying to think outside the box. They're thinking inside the box. The box is the data that they have, the data that they drive this entire company. That is what the company that has an entire division, Vash, with the word imagine in their title. I saw some merchandise this past week while I was at Disney Springs that was horrifying. Like literally their annual pass holder shirt is just a plain black t-shirt with the words Walt Disney World annual pass holder on them. That's it.
I think I saw some photo.
Yeah, it was a backpack, just a plain yellow backpack that just had the Walt Disney World logo on it. That's it.
They're getting lazier, right? And they're putting in less effort, because effort obviously costs them money, costs them resources, and so forth. So if they can get away with offering less, charging more, that is exactly what they'll do. And unfortunately, we've seen that when it comes to, even the quality of the products that we're seeing. Look at Lakeshore Lodge, right? That thing is a joke. Has no character whatsoever. Has no theming. We picked that apart to here to Kingdom Come. But there's a reason for it, because Walt Disney World, Disney themselves set a standard, and they established that standard over decades, over 70 years. And slowly, at least with this management team, it is upending all of that. We're replacing classic attractions with inferior replacements. We are, diminishing certain things that we used to love, certain aspects that we used to love about this amazing place. We are filling in these holes with really terrible corporate slop, like Lakeshore Lodge, for example, or like the Polynesian TVC tower right there. It's just, it's awful. But on a spreadsheet, hey, it looks great, looks awesome, looks fantastic. But what is the impression, Marvin, that you take away from that from a consumer's perspective? It's like, do I necessarily want to come here again? It's a good question.
Was it worth the money? That's the thing, is the value is something that, you have to see if you're actually giving. And for a lot of people that have come here for years, they know what they lost. And so it's hard to attribute that value. Here, take a look at this. This is this is the t-shirt and hat that I saw. How imaginative.
Yeah, the hat's
Who the
probably
hell is
$30
buying
and the
that?
t-shirt's probably 40.
Probably. There you go. Walt Disney World. And how about a little bit of like black outlining on the thing so it doesn't like just blend into the yellow? Like that looks like nothing. It's I could not believe what I was seeing with how little imagination is put into anything that they do. Look at what they did to World of Disney in general when they took this whimsical magical store, this like place where you would walk in and you'd see the characters on the walls and like the big statues they had, and you'd be like, wow, I can't believe this place exists in the world. Like this is incredible. And now it just looks like a really nice Target. It's like, you know, they made Communicore Hall, which was supposed to be this massive festival center and show building, and it's a cafeteria at an airport. Like there's just nothing anymore. There's none of the imagination. There's none of the whimsy. There's none of the spirit that used to be put into these things, you know, from people, you know, from legendary Imagineers, you know, from Tony Baxter and all of these others. Now we've got.
And so what we've tried to do is really bring that shape language from the architecture.
But like what we love to talk about at WDI is shape language. And we often refer to shape language.
There's such iconic shape language in Spaceship Reverie Attraction. We really wanted to make sure that we fused to that throughout the space.
Like that's what we've got now. And that's who's making these decisions. And we've got instead of having a dreamer like Walt Disney, and to a lesser extent, Michael Eisner, he was a dreamer too. He was a guy who really valued creativity. And for what creativity he lacked, he leaned on the actual creatives who did have it, who could create things like Disney's MGM Studios and stuff like that. Now we have corporate bean counters. That's the people that Bob Iger has assembled. And nobody cares about everyone's a VIP anymore. Nobody cares about any of it. And now it's just the mentality of, well, we're Disney and we know more than you. And because of that, you know, you can go float if you don't like it because you're going to come anyway because it's Disney. Well, we're seeing that that's not really the way it works anymore. And, you know, when I see Jeff Valley say something as tone deaf as this, my only thought is...
You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
Except they don't pity him. Any closing thoughts on this one, Vash?
No, it is the hubris, right? The arrogance that we have seen, especially from the Bob Iger era, really on display. And maybe perhaps, you know, that's why Jeff Valley is being, you know... I don't want to say pushed out, but maybe retiring, perhaps.
Yeah,
right,
not
and
giving
being
the job that he wanted.
Exactly, right. And maybe that mentality is what has kind of, it's demonstrable. It's certainly what's led Walt Disney World in this position, but perhaps that did, like you said, upend his prospects of becoming chairman of the Experiences Division right there, which, you know, hey, look, Joe Scott, coming in, hopefully we get a change in the leadership mindset right here. We are, you know, maybe coming into an era that's a little bit more consumer or guest focused right there, especially if Thomas Moslem, who used to be the head of the Disney Cruise Line, you know, is wanting to adapt some of that philosophy for the entire Experiences unit. That'd be great. That'd be fantastic. That'd be awesome. But when hearing comments like this, and especially with the culture that has been cultivated at Walt Disney World, do we believe things will change? I'm not entirely convinced. Not yet.
Well, guys, just remember, if you liked this video, that's awesome. But if you didn't like it, before you leave a nasty comment, just remember that we here at That Park Place have information that you don't. Oh, Maron. Before we end, I was at Universal recently. And we were going through like all the Halloween Horror Night stuff they had set up, and they have the same thing they had last year where it was all of like the IP houses that were like set up with like statues in the front. And one of them was a guitar, and it was like there was a tarp over the title of it though. And we're like, what the heck is this? Then yesterday they tweeted out that there was going to be a new house coming this year, probably the last house they were announcing, and it was the music of Slash And then they deleted that tweet, Ash. So we clearly now know that Slash is going to be the house.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I like, why wouldn't you just leave it up at that point?
I don't know. That's a weird thing. We've seen a little bit of this from Universal actually before, at least when it comes to like the Fast and Furious attraction right there. They had like a date that they published on Facebook and they polled it and so forth. It's really, really interesting. I believe a few, was it a couple days ago or was it last week? Can't remember, but maybe it was last week. They did have the keynote for the media going over all of the various HHN themes and IPs that will actually be featured this year. Very remarkable that to see both Ozzy and Slash. That's a pretty cool thing right there. Like that. And Marvin, really particularly interesting that they were able to get Obsession this late in the game for Halloween Horror Nights.
Walk around character. She's gonna be so it's not gonna be a house, right? She's just gonna be walking around.
Walk around character.
One of the scare zones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is that Hollywood only? I think I saw.
It might be Hollywood only, which is a most unfortunate right there. But the fact that we got something like that so late, still.
I mean, they've done this stuff before in the past, where they've had the Blumhouse scare zones before where they have like the Blumhouse characters walking around. So that's kind of like I think what this Nikki thing is, because it is a Blumhouse movie is Obsession. So yeah, I think that's what we're gonna see. But I actually saw a few other things, Nash, that I thought didn't really deserve like full segments, but things I wanted to point out here on the show for people. Let me just clear out a few of these images that I uploaded on the back end, and put in some images for you here that I think are worth discussing for a second, because I was very, very interested in what I saw, especially this past weekend. So as I wait for them to, oh my goodness, I'm just seeing Blake is saying breaking news: Paramount is willing to sell CNN to settle the California lawsuit. That's
really
if they accept that, then this is a trap. David Ellison has got them. If they're like, okay, cool, no more lawsuit, then it's clear that it was just about CNN, which is exactly what he was saying.
That's interesting. I mean, there's so much money at play.
Mm-hmm. So first thing that I noticed, Vash, while I was at Universal, at City Walk, we now have these solar trash cans, the way they have them in Disney. Now these trash cans, obviously, you can either pull them open or you could just push on the little foot pedal and they open up, and then inside they actually compact the trash. Disney has these in all the parks now, and they're continuing to roll them out. Another thing I noticed, Vash, Little Boo has a body this year. And I bought this shirt, by the way.
Of course.
I buy this shirt. So now I'm wondering, is Little Boo going to be a walk around character now? Is he going to have his own character meet and greet? I bet you yes.
I think that's what they're going. I think that's where they're going.
And finally, at Islands of Adventure, and this is coming out in a vlog that I made for Park Hoppin', should be coming out today. I had one of the best things I've ever had from quick service theme park food. Check this out.
Oh, what is this?
This is a bread cone with spiral mac and cheese and buffalo chicken nuggets with a ranch sauce over it all.
Oh,
we also had an Oreo cookies and cream funnel cake with this as well. This was incredible. Universal is just up in their food game over and over and over again, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
Fantastic. That is super good news to hear, because I had heard that the Orlando food game not so good. I've been continuously stunned at the quality for Hollywood's food game, but I'm glad to see that Orlando.
Oh man, I'm really liking the Universal food they've been putting out. There's some place. Look, if you go to like Krusty Burger, like you deserve what you get at that point, right? And I've gone to Krusty Burger many times. Like you know what you're getting here. But when you go to like the Circus McGurkus, which is where I got that, they have a bunch of really good stuff there. They have really good stuff there. They have really good stuff over in Jurassic World, over at the it's like the quick service location that you just walk up to, not the one that's actually in the building, but they have like bread cones and stuff there. They don't go, I mean, the Harry Potter stuff is just gross British food. But the fish and chips is decent, so maybe just get the fish and chips. There's a lot of really good food. A lot of really good food. So,
Man,
all right. Well, there you have it,
fantastic
Vash.
here.
What do you got coming up for us today on the Vash Sky Parkcast?
Oh, yes. Very, very interesting stories coming out of Walt Disney World. You would think that the drama surrounding Wilderness Lodge infrastructure would be, well, behind us now. Unfortunately, nope. Not so much. For 24 hours, apparently, there was no water. Yes, indeed, no water available at Walt Disney World's Wilderness Lodge, at least at the Boulder Ridge Villas right there. Some people had to move, but imagine paying all of that money, or at least using all those points, and no water for that long.
Why, you can't open a Splash Mountain when that mountain ain't got no water.
No water.
No water. No water.
Absolutely perfect. Very much appreciate that.
We've
also seen this woman, I suppose, very obsessed over Peter Pan at Disneyland. A lot of people, looking to have discussions around, is this indeed, not if it's healthy or not, but is this actually qualify as harassment for this cast member? We'll be exploring those very, very interesting stories, along with maybe some D23 predictions, especially regarding new immersive tech. It's a 30-year-old tech. We'll go ahead and have that discussion as well. Disney replacing Epcot pavement. That could be a thing that's actually happening. Maybe a look at the Six Flags earnings calls. A whole lot more. We're going to have a lot of fun over there at the Vashkai Parkcast. So definitely stay tuned. You'll be redirected momentarily.
Yep. All right. Thank you, guys. And for me, guys, please check out the M4 Empire, my channel. We've got new videos coming out today. We have got the M4cast AM, our daily live stream, 10 a.m. Mondays through Fridays. Not going to happen this Friday or Monday because I will be away. We might do an M4cast PM on Monday when I'm back, but we will see about that. But yeah, guys, please check that out. And we would thatparkplace.com, geeksandgamers.com. Please subscribe to the M4 Empire, though. We are trying to hit 10,000 subscribers by Christmas. We are almost at 9,100 now. So yeah, it's going very, very well. So please, if you can, I know you guys have a set amount of hypes per week. So if you can hype a video or just comment on a video, or even if you wanted to throw in a super thanks, every little bit helps. And we thank you guys immensely for that. So thank you guys very, very much. See you on the Pro Show will be tonight with WW Pro at 9 o'clock as usual. So thank you very much. And make sure you keep it here. Like, share, and subscribe to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.